welcome everyone. Welcome. This is the Conscious Chicano. Today is Conscious Chat number 31. The title is the Mexica New Year. Um, so, welcome to my channel. I'm actually live on YouTube at this moment and Instagram. Um, and also you're gonna see this video go on Rumble as well. If you just came in, check out the description below. You can add me to my other social media accounts. Actually, go to my Rumble page. Rumble, I upload uncensored videos on there, so go and check them out. Subscribe, like, and leave a positive comment on Rumble. Lots of good knowledge, information. Just, look at all the videos as much as you can. Just lots of good info. And then also, I have links to my Instagram accounts. So if you want to send me a message, definitely hit me up. You want some resources or you want to be on this video discussion, or you want me, if you want to interview me as well. Also, join my Twitter. Sometimes I have what's called Twitter Space Chats, and it's mainly audio, and you can join and listen in. My Twitter account is actually growing a lot, so lots of people are following and retweeting a lot of my tweets, passing on lots of good information there. So go there on Twitter. Um, we're exposing a lot of stuff on there. We have lots of good discussions on there, deep ones. Anyways, so welcome. Today's on the Mexica New Year, and this weekend I would like to invite people starting Friday, and it goes on to Saturday and Sunday. We have a Mexica New Year event, and it's every year, and in Los Angeles, and you know, starting off on Friday, March 24th, 6 p.m. to 10 p.m. They're gonna start off there with and then the main day is gonna be Saturday, March 25th, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. And the main days they're gonna have like throughout the days they're gonna have like danza, mexica, ceremonies, and um, but Saturday, March 25th, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. They're gonna have lots of things going on, and there's gonna be vendors, speakers, musicians, danza, with what they call Aztec dancers, Mexica dancers. But and then it's gonna end Sunday, March 26th, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. And there's gonna be a closing danza ceremony. The address is Sycamore Grove Park, and it's 4702 North Figueroa Street, Los Angeles, California. So be there. It's gonna be really good. I've been attending these Mexica New Years, um, for all the way since the beginning, and it's pretty cool to connect with the brown communities, the native communities, and definitely meet old school friends and reconnect and share wisdom and consciousness, and and then listen to some of the speakers, enjoy the music for the day, and even celebrate a new year, right? And it's important that we celebrate the Mexica New Year. I know a lot of people say, "Well, I'm not Mexica," right? well, in reality, I'm actually more Chichimeca than anything else. Chichimeca, Tolteca. But the Mexica were came from the Chichimecas. So we can share in that history and celebration as well. And but yeah, it's just to reconnect, and or have a good time, with our fellow native brown communities out here, Chicanos, and Chicanas and natives out here, Um, and it's important that we celebrate the Mexica New Year because it's a form of resistance towards the European Julian Gregorian time. And there's like an you know, old school guy who he was a mathematician. He was named Jose Arguellos, although he was kind of New Ages. I did agree with I didn't agree with the New Age stuff, but he did have a good point on how indigenous time is in sync with the natural rhythms you know of the earth and stuff like that. So and he talked about Western time was in a sense not really in tuned with the natural rhythms of the earth. And I was just thinking about that a lot of Western culture is not is out of tune, right? You know, if you I remember attending some of his lectures, and he talked about how Western cultures is so I guess so out of balance with their whole concept of time, and how it even affects them as well in their in their affects their health as well and their well-being and everything. It's like you're always in a rush, never enjoying life, right? That whole kind of like this capitalist time mindset where you're in a rush, and it's like you're kind of like robotic, right? Always doing the same routine, robotic. It's like never enjoying your life, right? And and so indigenous people, they enjoyed life while they were here on Earth, right? And that's why they spent time together. They had ceremonies. They it wasn't always like a robotic lifestyle, and 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 it's like you're not always in this fast paced reality, right? With kind of like you're so fast paced and materialistic, and it's all about you know consumerism, money, and it's this hardcore materialist mindset that goes along with this Western frame of thinking, time, this Western fast paced mindset, time, Western time actually, and it affects even people's thinking, their actions, their behaviors, and all that. Whereas indigenous people, um, they enjoyed life while you had it here, and spent time with their family, with their loved ones, with their communities. It was a communal relationship. It wasn't always about money, or this greed and materialism. And so when we celebrate the Mexica New Year, is a time to enjoy, life with the community, and connect with people, connect with your the brown indigenous communities, and also share, you know, um, we kind of relate with each other as too. It's like we talk about, you know, issues that the brown communities go through. And this is why we have even speakers in the Mexica New Year who talk about a lot of the issues of imperialism, colonialism, exploitation, oppression, um, different things like that. But it's not only talking about, oh, you're a victim and stuff like that, but it's also empowering the community too, and having a fun time, enjoying life, dancing, right? Danza. Sometimes they have cumbia there where you're dancing, right? You're enjoying the music, right? You're eating native Mexican Chicano foods, you see vendors there, natives selling their jewelry, and sometimes you have political shirts there, um, just different things going on throughout the day. So I definitely invite people to come join us, um, starting Friday, and the main day is Saturday, and it ends on Sunday. If you need the address again, is Sycamore Grove Park in Los Angeles, and the street is 4702 North Figueroa Street. So come on by, bring your family, your loved ones, your friends, your whoever, and enjoy the whole day or weekend. But I was actually getting into the whole, the Mexica sunstone, or what they call the calendar, and it's been a while. I used to study a lot of that stuff back in the day, and there's actually a whole debate on what is the right calendar and what isn't, and I was actually looking into like the different perspectives, and I found out that there's a pretty on point um, interpretation of the Aztec or Mexica sunstone, and it's by a guy who's a mathematician. His name is Ruben Ochoa, and he actually, what he did is he used like kind of like a mathematical approach in trying to understand the Mexica sunstone, and he found that there was certain patterns that he discovered with mathematical patterns within the whole calendar system. Um, and it's it's you can actually understand the basics, but then it gets a little complicated with some of the patterns. But I'm not going to go into all the complications. I'll just go into like some of it, on the Mexica sunstone, and so they actually, there's a ceremonial calendar that they call the Tonal Poali, and so they go by certain number sets and a 20-day sign. And so, and it's important to get what's called the Codex Borgia, and this actually reveals calendar there. Codex Borgia is very, it's not a post-colonial codicy. It's a pre pre-colonization codicy. So it's from an indigenous perspective. So if you guys don't know what are codices, or what they call omoshli, they they're books written by natives, native usually scribes, and this is how they would preserve a lot of their wisdom or ceremonies, or even their philosophies, and they would definitely preserve this in written form. A lot of people think natives are just purely oral tradition, and that's not always the case. There was in Mesoamerica, they developed a writing um, system as well, and they had was what are referred to as codices, and they wrote down a lot of it's a lot of symbolism and a lot of characters and symbols, and so the Codex Borgia is actually good for understanding the Mexica calendar system. And so what Ruben Ochoa figured out is that when you read the Codex Borgia, you read, you know, from right to left on certain pages of the Codex Borgia, you'll find that there's 13 numbers, right? And these are what I call a set, you know, and you follow the characters from right to left, and let's see here, you follow the characters. Actually, you follow the characters, and it starts with shoot, I even forgot right now. It's Cipatli. Yeah, that's what it is. It starts with a Cipatli, which is alligator, and you keep following these characters, and you notice they don't repeat until it you find out um, there's 20 characters, which is 20 day signs, and it repeats back to Cipatli. And Ruben Ochoa found out that there's these patterns. First, he discovered that there's these 13 sets here, from one, when you actually go from from the, he actually discovered when you go right to left, you discover that there's one 13 set there. And then when you follow the characters and they end up repeating after the 20 days sign, so it's important to know that in the Mexica sunstone that there's 13, the mathematical numbers set of 13, and there's 20 day signs. And so when you multiply 13 times 20, you get 260. And so this is like the 260 days in the Tona Poali, you know. And it's important to know this, if you want to understand the Mexica Sunstone, you got to understand those basics right there. And so you got what's called 260 tonales, and it's what it is. It's the total of all the day signs and numbers. And it's important when you start actually looking in the Codex Borgia, you find out that the number 13 exists by even just counting all the cipatlis, all the alligators, and you find out there's 13 of them. Okay. So I'm just going into a little aspect of it. I mean, the Mexica calendar is very complex, a lot of deep understanding. You have to actually just focus. I mean, the scribes were always focused on, some of them just specialized in that. So, but you can have a basic understanding, and for all these different like day signs, they had different like animals. And also I forgot to mention that um, Ruben Ochoa also discovered he used a computer, I guess, program. I think it was, and he found out that when you use the Stonapawali here, which is the ceremonial calendar, and apply it to the 365 days solar year, there's another pattern that comes out, that and basically there's a pattern that repeats itself. And so it's like a pattern of every 4 years you usually have with first, it starts off with Sipatli, which is an alligator, Mikisli, which is referred to as death. And death could be like change, right? It could be change in reality, it could be a change in different things, and it doesn't necessarily mean that, oh, someone dies, right? It just death in the Mexica philosophy just means changing from one to another, right? Like changing, different things in reality, your life or whatever. Um, and then you had also Motley, which is the monkey, and then you also have the last one, Coscaquatli, and so he found out that these repeat themselves after every 4 years. They go back and they go back to the same. And when you actually look at the Mexica Sunstone and other even other codices, they emphasize these four what you call characters here. When you see the sunstone, like kind of like when you see it, and there's like four aspects to it, and these are mentioned. These are the four characters that, and they emphasize those. So that was another pattern he discovered. It's important too because it's good that we actually have some mathematicians analyzing this Mexica sunstone. I myself am, I used to be a mathematician as well. So if I actually really focused on the Mexica sunstone, I'm sure I'll figure some stuff out as well. But um, I haven't actually done it. But it's good to, get some insight from other people who've actually found some good insight into the Mexica sunstone. I've actually took a class, you know, uh, at my university on the whole Mexica sunstone. It's by from the University of Nahuatl, and it was at UCLA. It was based on, I think, Andres Segura. Now, many people dispute his interpretation. Some are for it, some are against it. But um, you know, but I kind of like the Ruben Ochoa one though. How he kind of makes a lot of sense when it comes to the mathematics and everything. Um, Interesting stuff though that I learned in the my that class though, from the Andres Segura perspective is, when you learn about the Mexica sunstone, it's like you have all these different tonales, right? These different characters, different animals that represent certain days. And when you read these about when you understand these animals, like for natives, animals were symbolic, and you learn from the animals. There was some kind of wisdom that the animals just observing their life and what they do and everything. Humans learn from animals in some sense. They teach you, give you insight on certain about reality at times. So it's important to know that the Mexicas, when they put an animal to represent a certain like day, there's some wisdom behind, their what they actually know about the animals, and and it just think about it, like what does a particular animal do, um how does it act, how does it behave, you know just think about it. And so they kind of like see that, and when reading these tonales, there's what I like about it is that you can either see it in a positive light, or even with a negative perspective. So there's always like two sides of the, of of what you call the same coin in some sense, and they actually don't. It's not like astrology, Western astrology, where they say that, oh, your life is dictated based on this and that. Matter of fact, the when you understand the Mexica Sunstone, it's more like, okay, you have this animal representing a certain day, right? And so based on your free will and your choices, you decide whether you want to take the negative route or the positive route. And so but the key is to be balanced, right? To try to have a balanced life and make the right choices in life. um so the whole Mexica sunstone is very symbolic when it comes to the animals, the tonales, the characters there, and they represent a day, and it's important to know that there is your it's like people usually think, oh, it's like astrology where, oh, a day dictates your whole life, or whatever day you're born, it dictates your whole life. And that's not true. Actually, it allows for you to make certain choices, free will, and all that. But the Mexicas definitely had certain days that were represented by animals, and animals were had certain, there was certain wisdom to learn from certain animals, and if you actually think about it, I mean, just imagine like Cipatli. What do you think about an alligator? What can you learn from an alligator? There's wisdom in that, right? Just think about what the alligator does. What is the character of an alligator? And so the way the Mexica natives saw animals at times, they had a connection with animals. And sometimes they would honor certain animals. Certain nations would use animals to represent them. They had a close connection with certain animals. As a matter of fact, many natives saw all of reality, animals, in a sense, as interconnected relatives in some sense. So, and we are to learn from each other, and have a balanced, harmonious relationship. So the Mexica Sunstone is very important, I mean, to understand. And we can actually learn wisdom from that. It's like the Mexica Sunstone, it represents the natural cycles, of reality of the earth. And a lot of times people think that the way the natives view time was strictly cyclical, and I would dispute that. I would say it's more like a spiral, and it's definitely not linear, as in Western Gregorian time. That linear mindset, there's even books on it. I have some native scholars who critique the whole linear Western mindset and the effects of that mindset and what occurs, with civilization, so-called civilization, fast-paced Western thinking, and what it has amount to. If you actually think of Western society and this linear form of thinking, look at what has occurred. We have industrialization that has made the earth toxic. You can't even drink certain waters, right? Because it's full of chemicals that cause cancer, right? You can't even breathe certain air at times. So like, I mean, you do breathe the air, but it's toxic. I live out here in Los Angeles, and they say the air is one of the worst qualities of air in the world. Because we have this in fast-paced Western linear approach. This whole Western frame of mind has affected the earth, and disrupted a lot of harmony, and has even causes chaos at times. So we see this imbalance occurring with this linear time thinking. And if you just came in, how's it going, everyone? Welcome to my Instagram. Um, yeah, definitely. If you want to actually um, come on my YouTube, if you just entered on Instagram and you want to chit chat, send me some comments here. And after my discussion, you can you can actually join me on video if you want to join. I'll send you the link in my chat. So yeah, definitely the Western linear mindset is this has caused a lot of chaos in reality, and it's leading to even what they call um, so-called Western technology has actually is heading towards the direction of creating an artificial reality, and this is where they want to merge organic reality with artificial intelligence and create a phony reality in some sense, a transhumanist reality, and eventually a post-humanist reality where um, they just want all of reality changed into some kind of sci-fi reality where you're connected with what they call the metaverse and all that. And this is disastrous for organic natural life, because the way the natives approached, um, you know, the way they approached the earth and everything, it was based on balance, harmony with the earth, and and it wasn't this fast-paced technology, linear mindset, that was disrupting the balance and harmony and the natural aspects of reality in the earth. So this is very important to know the distinction between the linear Western time mindset versus the indigenous, natural, organic, um, spiral time, and that type of mindset. It's a different approach and perspective on life. And you could kind of see it as organic versus GMO in some sense, you know. And this is like when we celebrate indigenous time, it's a form of resistance towards Western culture, the Western mindset, the Western linear approach to reality, and it's actually embracing our indigeneity, in embracing the natural creation of the creator, being in harmony with creation, taking care of creation, right? Having good relation with creation, as well as with the creator who created everything else as well. So, but yeah, this whole concept of time is very important, and the way you see it, is it's definitely a different mindset going on. And then, like me, I'm a philosopher, and I actually get into the whole concept of time. Even with Einstein, how time is what is it called, relative, in the sense where um, he says it's like time is not really absolute. And I will say that that is true right there. Western and Mexica time is not absolute. You could say it's a human construct. But I will say that a lot of the indigenous, even though it's relative, the concept of time, I would say it's more in harmony with the natural rhythms of the universe, of the earth, and everything. So we have to be aware of that. Whereas Western time and that type of thinking and approach is is not in harmony with the natural rhythms of the earth, you know, of reality, and it leads to um, negative effects on the earth, on humans, on animals. This whole Western frame of linear thinking, and I say linear thinking because the linear time in the Western concept is like equated to linear thinking, and whereas indigenous time is what they call, it's more was it syn- syncretic in some sense. It's like it's somewhat linear, but and cyclical, which combines is synthesized actually, um, and is synthesized into what I call a spiral frame of mindset, a spiral approach. And I say spiral because a lot of people think native time is cyclical, and I don't agree with that perspective because it's usually it goes along with thinking that um, all of reality is eternal, right? All the universe is eternal, and there's no beginning and no end. And I don't agree with that. I say it's more spiral because all of reality starts from one place, right? It starts at a singularity in some sense, as scientists say. So, in a sense, time is not eternally cyclical. The reality is not eternally cyclical, and we have this problem of pure linear time. That's a problem as well. It's more like a spiral where it's traveling. That's the way the natives view time. And the reason why I say it's spiral because time and all of reality was created at a singularity, and it started with creation, right? And so many natives believe in the creator, right? Some debate, some, like for example, the Mexica, there's a debate on this whole thing. Some say that they did believe in the creator, like Miguel Leon Portilla says, Ometeot, right? Others, like James Maffey, say, well, it's more like Theot, which is kind of like it's uh, it's it's kind of like a, a undefined um, undefined say you can think of it as like something ultimate and absolute in some sense of some spirituality or energy. Some even think of it as kind of like the Tao. Even I study Taoism, and the Tao is kind of like any explanation about it is limited. Our human reason is limited in some sense in trying to explain this ultimate reality of everything, you know. So, and then you have others like I remember talking to a professor of classical Nahuatl, and he says it's more like what's called teteo, and teteo is more like you could see is kind of like there it's a type of ultimate reality or creator where it's both singular and multiple at the same time, and and you can see like it's like and you see this a lot, you know, in when you see a lot of different cultures around the world. um I would say it's kind of like more. It's not like pantheist where they equate the universe as God in some sense, as a lot of New Agers like to do. I say it's more like panentheism, where you have this ultimate creator or reality, right? And then this ultimate reality and creator, uh, basically everything else comes from this creator, you know, who's like, as back in the day we would say that, one creator with multiple manifestations, in some sense, right? And some say it's like the creator's omnipresent in some sense, and it's not equating creation as creator. It's making a distinction between the creator and creation, but at the same time, it's not disconnecting the creator from creation. So there's aspects in reality that contains, um, aspects of the creator. So I would say it's more like panentheism. I disagree with James Maffei and his claim that the Mexicas believed in pantheism, which says there's no creator, that there's just the universe basically, and that's it. I don't agree with Panthea's interpretations of the Mexica. I say it's more like panentheism. And Miguel Leon Portilla even argues that in one of his essays as well. Even though some people say the word ometeot is, they can't find it, um, and I'm actually looking more into that, whether that's true or not. And I'm not absolute on that yet, on whether the word ometeot exists or not. Um, but the Mexicas did have, um, they did have a notion of spirituality, and there is creation stories as well. And you do see, there's in a sense, their beliefs is that there's definitely something that's not material that does exist out there. Um, but I tend to believe that it's more like panentheism, which is different from pantheism. So panentheism has this concept of God or creator or absolute reality. And a lot of times people don't like that word God, because they say, oh, that's colonialism, that's Western white man's concept. But God is just another word for creator, right? And 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 you find this in just about every other culture. You have ancient beliefs. Everyone thinks that ancient beliefs were originally pantheistic or animistic. Now, there's anthropologists who say that's not the case. That's not absolute. Actually, some of the earliest, native tribes out here believed in a creator, and a lot of times they would have like certain deities they believed in, right? They would have certain deities they believed in, but they found out that there was a supreme being that was above all these other deities. So very interesting. A lot of ancient, concepts of God is, or the creator, is you could find that in a lot of cultures around the world. Um, so to say that, oh, the concept of God is the white man, and this and that, that's just not true. If you study anthropology, many cultures believed in the creator, so, um, and I discovered there's a lot of natives out here who believed in the creator. And I've actually talked to a guy named Jack D. Forbes who says that the natives out here were more panentheistic. They were not pantheists. So I think James Maffei's interpretation is kind of Eurocentric in a sense, because he's coming from a Western philosophical mindset coming out of the Enlightenment that wants to deny spirituality and wants to deny God. They're more like atheist materialists. So he's imposing his perspective on the Mexicas when he wrote that book, Aztec Philosophy. I don't agree with his perspective. I'm more in alignment with Miguel Leon Portilla, Jack D. Forbes, um, and there's just a lot of other, like when you study the beliefs of Mesoamericans and all that, it was not purely physical. It was not purely naturalistic, and even classical Nahuatl professor Fermin Herrera mentions that the Teo, you know, and so even James Maffey will have to admit that the concept of Teo is not purely physical. So he kind of contradicts himself too. He wants to act like a naturalistic pantheist, a strict materialist, but then he admits that they believed in um, some immaterial aspects of reality. So I've listened to his lectures and I'm like, oh, no, no, he's kind of contradicting himself. So I think it's better to have a panentheist approach in understanding the Mexicas. Anyways, but yeah, it's if you just came in, I've actually been talking about the Mexica Sunstone calendar and some of the philosophy behind that. Um, and so it's important to understand the Mexica Sunstone because it's based on indigenous time. And indigenous time, people have this misconception that indigenous time is cyclical, that that the Mexicas believe in just the universe and they didn't believe in the creator, that they believe that the universe is eternal and that's it. I think that's actually a wrong interpretation. That's actually a Western Eurocentric perspective on the Mexicas. And I believe that the Mexicas were more aligned with even science, because science says, oh, there's a big bang, everything came into existence at one point, right? The universe, the time, the universe and time are not eternal. It had to start somewhere, right? This is where they say the big bang. And so a lot of native creation stories, they were, you find out that there's different deities at times, or some of them just believe in, in some absolute supreme being that's above these deities. And so a lot of the native beliefs out here were panentheists, and I know Miguel Leon Portilla, Jack D. Forbes, and even classical Nahuatl, teachers such as Fermin Herrera argue that as well, in some sense, that they did believe in the creator. And so it's important to understand and make a distinction between spiral time versus the misinterpretation of what is called cyclical time, and also make a distinction with the Western linear time too. And there's a type of thinking behind all those types of thinking, time. And so linear time, the Western linear time has created imbalance, it has created this whole, um, this fast paced reality, and we're seeing the effects of Western linear time. Look at what's happening with civilization right now. You got a imbalance in reality, right? We have this toxic reality. Just think about it. You can't even drink water out here. Prior to colonization, water was pretty healthy out here. But then they created this whole linear frame of mindset where, oh, we need to we need to industrialize the world, and all these, and what was the effects of the industrialization was toxicities of the environment, right? They created lots of toxins in the environment. It destroyed even a lot of the natural foods out here. They created these GM, genetically modified foods, which is causing people to become unhealthy. We can't even drink some nice pure water because it contains all these chemicals that cause cancer. You know, there's actually a website that where you could put your zip code in that website, and it tells you the levels of cancer-causing chemicals. And I actually typed up my zip code, and man, it's like the chemicals are like far above the limit, and definitely causes cancer. And imagine you wash your hands and you bathe in this stuff. You don't drink the water, you bathe in it, you wash your hands, you brush your teeth with it. And your skin is like one of the biggest organs in your body, right? And it absorbs a lot of stuff, right? So you can imagine the effects. And this is all the result of the fast-paced linear mindset of Western time, industrialization, making everything genetically modified. Uh, their goal is to intertwine organic reality with artificial intelligence. You know, some people they can't wrap their head around that. For the lay people out here, they're actually, yeah, they're actually promoting with their, if you actually pay attention to their scientists and this whole Great Reset movement. If you listen to guys like Dr. Yuval Harari or Klaus Schwab and them, they want a transhumanist reality where humans merge with artificial reality, and their goal is to become a post-humanist reality. So they want to change all of reality, and this is actually threatening the natural organic reality that we have, and so we're gonna have genetically modified, more toxic foods that are gonna make people sick and unhealthy, um, and we're gonna have more polluted air. We're gonna have, our whole environment is gonna change into some phony, unnatural type of reality, and that can affect us. That definitely can affect us all. So this Western linear mindset is not healthy for the earth, for the universe, for humans, for animals. Not healthy at all. It's basically the white man's thinking. And it's important to know about the Mexica sunstone because it's the opposite of that. The Mexica sunstone represents spiral time, is being in harmony with the rhythms of nature, with reality, and it advocates organic reality, being in tune, and having good relations with the earth. That's why a lot of natives are environmentalists, and I know there's issues with the whole environmental problem. You have these phony Western industrialists who are pushing a phony green technology out here to make money off of people, and even that green technology is even like destroying the forest, and and they're all just to make a buck off this fake environmentalism. So the way I am is I'm a real environmentalist, and a lot of us natives are real environmentalists. So we don't fall for the phony green technology that they're pushing so they can make a buck off of it. And a lot of these guys that own this green technology are even oil industry owners as well. So they a lot of times they claim they're environmentalists in order to get a free pass to keep their industries open, so the government won't regulate them. So there is corruption in the environmentalist movement. And there's actually a lady from India who exposes this. Her name is Shiva. I forgot her last name, but look her up. And actually, Michael Moore, even though I don't agree with a lot of his liberal politics, his white liberal politics, he actually has a good critique of the modern green environmentalist movement, and it's called was it was it Planet of the shoot I forgot um, Planet of the Humans or something like that. I know it's kind of like Planet of the Apes, but I think it's Planet of the Humans. I have to recall the exact the exact title of the movie. Let me actually look it up. Let's see here. Let me actually go on Google and get the correct um, planet. Oh, okay, yeah, yeah, I'm correct. It's Planet of the Humans, and go check out that documentary by Michael Moore. He exposes the fake environmentalist movement. Although I don't agree with his liberal politics, as you guys know, I'm more of a Chicano anarchist. I'm not neither Republican or Democrat, and I critique a lot of these parties and their perspectives. But I am pro environmentalist. But I do see there's problem with this fast-paced linear approach to reality, where they're genetically modifying and changing all of organic reality. And I also have an issue with the phony environmentalism, the green technology at times, where it's still causing, um, disharmony and even causing environmental problems, in reality. So um, if you actually get to your roots, your native roots, your traditional cultural roots, and all that, and you become in tune with the indigenous spiral time, you'll find out that native ways are more in tune, in harmony with organic reality, natural reality, and advocates for true environmentalism and true well-being of the earth, animals, and humans. So it's important to know all that. So definitely. So come on out if you guys get a chance to the Mexica New Year this weekend. It starts Friday. The main event is on Saturday, and it ends on Sunday. On Saturday, it's going to be really good. There's going to be a lot of musicians, a lot of speakers, vendors, a lot of things going on that day. And if you just came in, I'll repeat the address again. It's Sycamore Grove Park in Los Angeles, and it's 4702 North Figueroa Street in Los Angeles. And definitely come out where it's the brown communities, the native communities getting together and celebrating the Mexica New Year. And as we believe that there's spiral cycles that end, right? And there's a new season, there's a new year, and we celebrate this as a form of resistance because everybody on Western time they always party and celebrate January 1st, right? The Gregorian Julian year. But we have to resist this and say that, what, let's celebrate our native new year, right? And if you're Mexican, you're Chicano, there's nothing wrong with celebrating the Mexica New Year because, um, this is just natural indigenous, time right here. It's in harmony with the natural cycles of the earth and, of all the reality in some sense. Our ancestors were mathematicians, philosophers, astronomers, and we had some deep understanding about reality. And so this is we we would celebrate the change of seasons, the change of years and spiral cycles, and and this is where they believe that it's out with the old and in with the new. It's like, and you celebrate that. And a lot of people are in Western times like, oh, what's your New Year's resolution and all that. Well, this is a great opportunity even for those who are celebrating the Mexica New Year. you know, uh, start planning on new things. Start doing new things, right? Uh, Start setting new goals. In life. Start with a vision. Start with new goals. Work on yourself. Start changing things, right? Self reflect. Well, they actually have like you know they had what they call nemothemies, where you kind of look at yourself in the mirror in some sense and you self reflect and you prepare for the new year. And so, for the new year, um, you implement the change that you want, right? You use your free will. You have certain tonales. As if you just came in, I was explaining the whole Mexica sunstone, not everything about it. So it's very complex, and even to this very day, not everybody knows everything about that Mexica sunstone. There's so much wisdom behind it. They in a sense, it's like a lot of the people in charge of the Mexica sunstone prior to colonization, they were the was it the they held a lot of the wisdom and preserved it. And at times, um, they either pass that information down orally to other indigenous people, but also at times the Spaniards killed them off. So, um, but we can still look and still study and observe as we did even prior to colonization and discovered the wisdom of the Mexica sunstone. And if you just came in, I was talking about the discoveries of Ruben Ochoa, who's a mathematician, and he discovered patterns within the Mexica sunstone that the natives must have known about, and it's basically these spiral patterns, that reveal the mathematics of reality. And mathematics is, our people were scientific, mathematicians, scientists. We had intelligence. You know, I'm a philosopher, right? And I say philosophy is in my ancestry. Even though I was trained in Western philosophy, I was also trained in other. I studied a lot of native philosophy as well, decolonization philosophies as well. So, me being a Chichimeca, Tolteca, we were, a lot of the Chichimeca, the Mexica came from the Chichimecas. Um, so we can share in this celebration. You know, we can share in this celebration of the new year. Yeah, okay, so let's see here. Yeah, so anyways, definitely and come on out to the Mexica New Year and come celebrate with us. And it's a new year, and come and enjoy the brown communities, and socialize and have a good time, enjoy the music and speakers, and come out and enjoy some food, and even buy some jewelry or some native resistance like t-shirts and all that. Definitely come on out and connect with the community, and decolonize from that Western linear mindset, that Western linear time mindset. um, and learn to be in balance with reality, with all your relations, with with other people, with the animals, with the earth, with the creator, you know. Everyone, hold on. Let's see here. Let me turn this camera back on. Let's see. There it goes. I accidentally turned it off. But be in harmony with the creator too. Everyone talks about being in harmony with the earth and the elements and all that. That's good, but also be in harmony with the creator too. Don't forget about the creator, the origin of everything, right? Have respect and honor the creator. And so I say it's not just it's all our relations, right? Having good relations, harmony with everybody and everything in some sense where you know you love the creator and you honor and respect the creator and acknowledge the creator and also have good relations with everyone else, with all of the humans, right? As much as you can. I know sometimes it's hard to have good relations with certain people out here, but try your best, to even restore certain relations and have good harmony with people, overcome evil with good, you know, overcome the negative with positive, and do good to humankind and to your relations, and be compassionate and loving, and not just humans too, to animals as well, we have to have better relations with animals as well, and and take care of them and value our elders as well, and respect them, honor their wisdom and their experience, respect everyone, men respect women, women respect men. It's all our relations, and even the earth too, we got the plants, we got the animals, we got, even the soil, the trees, all that, um, don't abuse, don't abuse the animals, the environment, don't abuse fellow humans. Um, just have respect, and compassion and love, and that's what it's all about. Is living in harmony and balance. That's the key. Anyways, well, let me end it here. I got to 1 hour. um, if you have any questions, feel free to send me a question. I know if you're on YouTube or Instagram, send a question, or if you want to make a comment about the topic, something positive, I'll definitely mention it here. Especially if you're on Instagram. How's it going? How's it going, Diana? You're on my Instagram. She's not here on YouTube, but I guess I'll repeat her comment. How's it going? So you mentioned divine masculine and divine feminine. And yeah, definitely. There has to be balance, We have the male and female, the feminine and the masculinity, and we definitely are, there is a dialectical, what I call a dialectical dualism in reality, and you have the positive, the negative, you have the male, the female. Um, you do see this in reality, and this is, as a philosopher, I see that in a lot of ancient philosophies and native philosophies. You have this belief in, that reality is not one way, right? And it's like it's so complex, intertwined. And so, but yeah, definitely males and females. We have a lot of imbalance in reality out here. We have, some males are hyper masculine, right? At times, so they become imbalanced. They start abusing and all that, and mistreating not only other humans, but even all of reality in some sense. Um, and then we have sometimes males that are hyper feminine, and they lose their masculinity. They become emasculated, so they don't know how to be what is called a man in some sense. They don't know how to lead. They don't take action. They don't have good leadership. They don't know how to defend, and they don't assert themselves. So we definitely have these extremes that are problems here. And even with the women as well, we have women who are hyper masculine at times too, and they try to mimic the man at times, and they try to be the dominant ones. They can abuse men as well, and they mistreat others as well. So we have that phenomena occurring. And then the opposite too is like you have hyper feminine women, and where they become vulnerable and naive at times, and so they kind of set themselves up for being abused and everything. So we definitely need balance, not only with just men and women, you know, individually as well, but we also have to balance each other out too as well, you know. So both the masculine and the feminine definitely got to balance each other out. And this is the way the creator made us, All of reality in some sense. The ideal is for, you know, um, is for us to live in harmony and balance. That's the ideal. Sometimes chaos comes about, and we got to learn how to change that negative energy into something, redirect it into something positive, where the negative doesn't dominate us or direct our lives and cause us to self-destruct. So definitely, how's it going? Casual conversation, good seeing you here. I just actually went over the whole Mexica New Year event that's happening this weekend, and also talking about the Mexica Sunstone, the calendar. Um, so definitely, if you have any questions on the topic, especially the Mexica Sunstone, I remember you mentioned something about the Chichimecas, and yeah, the Chichimeca is I'm a Chichimeca, right? A Tolteca Chichimeca, and a lot of the Mexicas have came from the Chichimecas. The Chichimecas were known as like natives of northern Mexico. Even my people, the Yaquis, are they're part of they have ancestral ties to Sonora as well as Arizona. So Chichimeca was we share in a lot of the we're related to the Southwest natives as well as Mesoamericans as well. So and so as a Chichimeca, since the Mexicas came from the Chichimeca, uh, we can also participate in the Mexica New Year. The Mexica New Year is basically a celebration of the end of the spiral cycles, and it's like a new year. To celebrate the new year, it's a form of resistance towards the linear Western uh, mindset, and it's in celebration of the indigenous time. Indigenous time was in sync with the rhythms of the earth and reality, and it's a different approach and perspective of reality. and it's not so much of the fast-paced materialism that we see in terms of the linear type of thinking that leads to industrialization and destruction of the earth and human relations. So indigenous time was about harmony with the earth, with the animals, with the fellow human beings, as well as the creator. And yeah, definitely. Yeah, I see also. Yeah, definitely. If you have any comments and questions, send them to me. I'm getting some comments also on Instagram. I'll get to everyone's comments and questions. Let me see. Definitely. Let's see. Oh yeah, yeah. So Diana made a comment when I was mentioning the whole male female balance and masculinity and femininity, and she says that women can be big, oh, big D energy, and is not talked about, unfortunately. Yeah, that's true. So I guess she was meaning that women at times can be hyper masculine as well. So yeah, that can cause disruption in, say, in relationships. A lot of marriages and relationships fail because there's imbalance there. And when you have too much masculine energy, oh man, that just causes chaos, and relations end up crumbling, right? Or if you have too much femininity, that even causes chaos. Because I've even seen men who become so feminine that and the woman like ends up like not at first she's attracted of dominating the man because he's very feminine. He's kind of like a beta male, right? He lets the woman dictate everything. But eventually the woman gets tired of that and wants a masculine man, a leader, a man who steps up to the plate and takes action, takes the lead at times. So I've seen women that don't like those kind of men. So there's chaos and imbalance when you have too much of these extremes going on here. Um, and so let's see here. Oh, okay, yeah. She mentioned Diana mentions it's sad nowadays that marriage and procreation is not important. Yeah, that is part of the agenda out here. And a lot of it is coming from Western civilization, where um, they're on this depopulation agenda in some sense, where um, they especially people of color, they tell people of color, oh, you're having too much kids and this and that. No, actually, that's actually a threat to the European populations out here, because the statistics is showing that lots of natives, a lot of the browning of America is inevitable, and so the brown populations are eventually going to be the majority in the United States. And a lot of European white people know this, right? They know this, and this is why they're trying to convince us of not procreating. And so, you know, but we need more of our people procreating and populating. So eventually the goal is that we reoccupy our native lands and dismantle the systems of white supremacy and colonialism. That's the key aspect that we need to do. Anyways, also let's see here. Let me see. Casual conversation. Let me see. She made a comment. She goes. She says, "My great grandmother was Chichimeca, according to my grandfather." Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Chichimeca. Look into that history. There's a lot of so a lot of times what's referred to as Chichimeca is like you know it's a lot of different native peoples. And I know, for example, one of my ancestries is from Zacatecas, the Zacatecos, and they're regarded as the Chichimecas as well. So there were several nations who were labeled as Chichimeca, right? But we actually had our own names as well. So there was different nations, and some scholars dispute who were actually the Chichimecas, but it was the Mexicas who referred to usually the northern peoples of Mexico as Chichimecas, and one of them was especially my people, the Zacatecos, as well as the Yaquis as well. So yeah, there's a lot to learn about the Chichimecas and the native peoples of um, North Mexico, and it's fascinating history because you'll find that the Southwest natives, the Chichimecas, a lot of the Mesoamerican civilizations, they're all basically related, and they're all related. And you even look into the whole Uto-Aztecan languages, and you'll find definitely lots of tons of evidence of people who are related and intertwined and connected. And um, the problem is the Eurocentric mindset to say that, oh, we're completely distinct and unrelated people. That's just a lie. We're all we all have a lot of common origins. And I actually did a video previously on this whole Southwest and Mesoamerican connections, and there's a lot of it. But the Chichimecas are in between Mesoamerican civilization, and you have the Chichimecas, and then you have the Southwest. So the Chichimecas are like the mediators between the Southwest and Mesoamerican civilization. So very important to know about them, and a lot of history, a lot of culture there, a lot of stuff there. Yeah, definitely get into it and start. There's you can even find books on it, and find people that even talk about a lot of the history. Probably, I think you find some on YouTube as well, and just go and research, find some books on it, and even whatever particular native nation that you discover that's your ancestry. Definitely dive into it and learn as much as you can. Um, so definitely. Um, so anybody else have more questions, more comments? I know. Let's see here. Diana's making more comments here. Let's see here. So the let's see here. She said something about Spanish will become the main language. I'm not too sure what exactly. I think she's referring to when we have more brown people in the United States. My intention is decolonization. I'm into the indigeneity, indigenous roots. So, um, and as I mentioned, even Mexican Spanish has a lot of native names and terms. So it's not purely Spanish from Spain, right? So the Spanish of Mexico is even intertwined with indigenous lang- language as well. And so yeah, she does make a point that if there's more brown people populating the United States, yeah, there's going to be an increase in Spanish. But my goal as a decolonization Chicano is that we learn our native languages, and go learn whatever, go look into your native ancestry and try to learn those languages. Like for me, my I've actually took in the opportunity to learn some Nahuatl. you know, and Nahuatl was one of the Uro-Aztecan languages, you know, and my other goals, I mean, I actually read some on Yoeme, which is the Yaqui language, and it's another branch of the Uro-Aztecan family. I'm not a pro at those languages, right? Because you have to constantly practice and practice. But eventually, I'm gonna get back into it and start working on practicing the language more and more and get involved. You know, out here in Los Angeles, there's a Nahuatl speaking community out here that teaches Nahuatl and everything. Connect with them. Go to speaknahuatl.com and you'll find out about them. Sometimes they have Zoom meetings or they're you could go on YouTube and learn some basic Nahuatl and also you know, connect with them in Los Angeles. And even as a Chichimeca, such as myself, you know, I found out the Yaquis and the Toltecas and the Chichimecas, the Toltecas they're the same people as, you know, they basically like the Chichimecas and the Yaquis, the they're related, interconnected, you know, and they just moved to another location and you know, they call themselves, you know, those particular people. But so the Toltecas are definitely Mesoamerican civilization right there, and a lot of us spoke the Uro-Aztecan languages, the Yaquis, the Chichimecas, the Toltecas, all that. You know? So learning Nahuatl is nothing wrong with that, you know, especially if you have a connection with Mesoamerica, you know. So go out and learn some native languages, you know. And let's see here. Also, Diana made a comment. She says something. She says, I'm Maya, Japanese from mother's side, and Andalus, Moroccan from father's side. And I've been always proud to say I'm Indigena Maya. Oh, interesting. Yeah. So definitely, yeah, there's no such thing as purity. Um, even in pre-colonization, um, before the Europeans even came to these lands, um, you know, I even like there's no such thing as a pure native either. A lot of us think, oh, that person's full blood, right? Or pure, right? Well, many natives travel throughout the Americas. They reproduce with each other. They mate it with each other, and there's various mixtures of different native peoples out here. So, even to this very day, so and we all know that after the Europeans colonized the Americas, there was like historic rape too as well, uh, and that's what happened. But and then later on, I guess people sometimes willfully reproduce with other ethnicities that came to the Americas, and yeah, we do have these mixtures out here, and I tend to stray away from the whole mestizaje concept and identity because mestizaje originally meant Spanish and native, and I don't think all Mexicans or Chicanos can identify with that because not everyone is Spanish and native, and so some people are full blood indigenous. Some people are mixed with other ethnicities, right? Besides Spanish, right? So, but mestizaje does have a Eurocentric white supremacist root in ideology, and I actually don't believe in that identity and concept. But the phenomena of people being, you know, mixed with other ethnicity is a reality, and but what you want to identify is all up to you. So I seen some natives out here, Native Americans. A lot of times I find out they're half white. One of their parents are white, right? They're more whiter than me, you know. And what's funny is that they think they're the only natives. And when I say I'm Chicano or Mexican, they say they don't see me as a native. They, oh, that guy's Spanish, right? Or he's a Latino or Hispanic. So that's even ignorance right there. Like, when in fact they have a white father or something, or a white mother. They're directly white, right? If you actually go down my line, I can't even find a full blood Spaniard, and a lot of us, like even Mexicans. I mean, sometimes we make up stories that we have a Spanish ancestor when in fact it's actually a mixed blood light skinned Mexican. So I even question whether some people can actually trace a full blood Spaniard. But even the Spaniards that came to Spain weren't even full blood themselves too. They had there was the whole the was it the Arabs and the was it the Moors and the Berbers mixed with the Spaniards as well, and the Spaniards had Mediterranean at times and Middle Eastern. I mean, humanity is not pure, right? So we have to even throw that concept out. But yeah, we have different mixtures and ethnicities out here, but it's up to you whether you want to what you want to identify with. And I see, like, even with North Native Americans, like, they may have a white parent and the other parent might be native or half native or quarter native, but many of them still identify as native, and they have a right to identify as that, even though they have mixtures in them, right? And the same goes with us Chicanos and Mexicans too. Some of us may be full-blooded indigenous. Some of us may have Spanish, or other. I seen some Chicanos that have Italian. Some of them have Asian, right? Because some of them, some I guess Filipinos even moved to Mexico, or some Chinese too. So Mexicans and Chicanos are just like everyone else, and we may have other mixtures, but what I do is I choose to identify as indigenous. That's what I do. I identify as indigenous and native. Now, if you want to, for example, Diana identifies. She says she's Mayan and Japanese. That's nothing wrong with that, and she identifies Andalus and Moroccan as well. So, but I think what she also says, she's always proud to say that she's indigenous Mayan. So, yeah, she has the right to do that, and that's all good. And I think it's important that Chicanos and Mexicans definitely identify with their native ancestry, because we've been taught to be ashamed of our ancestry. To, oh, we're like, it's like the Spaniard colonial mindset is like, oh, oh, if you identify as indigenous, you're a backwards indigena, right? Or, you're, it's like, oh, the Spanish is the civilized, right? And like the indigenous is uncivilized. And that's just a Eurocentric mindset. Natives were very civilized. We had science, we had astronomy, we had philosophers, we had mathematicians. We had a highly technical agricultural system. We were very civilized, right? So that whole concept is not even true. But anyways, let's see here. Um, oh, welcome, Conscious of Christ. Definitely, it's good seeing you here. Um, she says, yep, and the Apaches, the Nahuas called them Chichimecas. Oh, interesting, interesting. That's good insight. Conscious of Christ. She actually comes on a ministry that I'm part of. It's a native ministry called the Good Medicine Way. It's on Mondays. Go check it out. On Mondays, is by Dr. Casey Church. He's Native American as well, and we gather and we talk about a lot of Native issues and everything. Uh, Come, definitely join us every Monday. Just look them up on Facebook, Good Medicine Way, and join that group and join our Zoom meetings on Mondays. But she made a good comment here that the Apaches Nahuas call them Chichimecas. Yeah, yeah, and I have Apache ancestry as well. Um, and yeah, we're considered Chichimecas as well. So interesting, interesting. Thanks for that insight. I didn't know the Apaches were called Chichimecas as well. Interesting. Uh, yeah, definitely. I definitely have family who are Apaches uh, from Arizona as well, and I also have ancestry of Yaquis from Arizona, Sonora as well, and Chichimeca. Well, we're all labeled as Chichimeca, right? um, Zacatecos as well. I even have family who come from Chihuahua as well, Sonora, Chihuahua, Zacatecas. A lot of us Mexicans and Chicanos have ancestry in the Southwest or northern Mexico as well. So it's not just Mesoamerica, right? But we do have connections with Mesoamerica as well. so, um, so let's see here. Oh, so Diana says she's been literally called a mutt all her life. Oh, don't worry about that. I mean, everyone's a mutt in that sense. But um, interesting that I think you mentioned that you had some Japanese and let's see here, Japanese. I'm trying to go back to your comment, but um, I think you said Japanese and Mayan as well. Maya. Uh, um, well, the science actually says that a lot of natives came through Siberia, right? And so even natives of the Americas have a connection with Asians, right? A lot of Alaskans, a lot of Native Americans don't like this, right? They like to say that, oh, we originated here in the Americas and that's it, right? Or it's the white man's thinking that we crossed the Bering Strait, No, that's not the white man's thinking. That's just actually the fact of life, If you trace the genetics, the cultural lineage, and all that, if especially you go to Alaska, Alaskans know that their people are also the Siberians, and the Siberians and Alaskans are definitely the same people. They come from they're related, and same cultures and a lot of similarities, and they even look the same. So and eventually, a lot of the natives travel down. They travel from Alaska to Canada, Mexico, Central America, South America, and they moved around. It wasn't just up, a travel from up down, but it was all like so complex. We migrated back and forth everywhere. But we definitely have a connection with Asia. And a lot of Mexicans don't like that, right? And they say, "Oh no, I'm not a chinito," right? they have a Spaniard racist mindset towards chinitos, right? And a matter of fact, let's be real, as Chicanos and Mexicans, we definitely have a connection with Siberia and Asians, and we're all related, interconnected, So, and to claim native is, you could still claim native, and hey, we're the original inhabitants of the Americas, right? But we do have relations, right? Definitely. So, let's see here. Yeah, so Conscious of Christ mentioned something about Filipinos mixed Spaniard too. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, Filipinos, I don't know too. I mean, I don't have an exhaustive knowledge of on a Filipino history and culture, but I've came across Filipinos who were also on this decolonization tip as well, and they had similar experiences as Mexicans and Chicanos as being colonized people, and the Spaniards went down there too. and colonized them as well. And I met some Filipinos that, yeah, they've some of them speak Spanish as well, and you know, um, but even Filipinos, yeah, they definitely, some of them moved to Mexico too, and they mixed with the native populations there as well. We have in California the whole UFW movement. Filipinos were involved with Chicanos and Mexicans out here in the Chicano movement, and and so out here in California, you have Northern California, in the middle, Central California, even Los Angeles. Filipinos are here as well, and they're you know I've actually had a Filipino friend in elementary school. We were old school poppers. I'm actually a dancer as well, and I dance old school popping and all that. But yeah, I mean, they're in our communities too, and we have relations with them, and even I was looking into the colonial history. A lot of Spaniards brought some natives to the Philippines, and you got even like Mexicans in the Philippines as well. So even Filipinos have some Mexican in them as well. So they reproduced with them. So so it's more complex than we actually tell ourselves, or what's actually told to us. Wherever people travel, they end up reproducing, right? So we have Filipinos in Mexico, and we also have Mexicans in the Philippines. So interesting when you read a lot of. I'm a history buff too, so I sometimes I'm curious about different histories out here, and I'm like come across this. I'm like, oh wow, interesting. um, let's see here. Let's see. There's only yeah, we're all yeah. You could say we're all human beings, right? We're all humans, and we're all part of this creation. The creator created, and yeah, we're all living on this earth, and the only issue is that you know when people say, oh, we're all human beings, like, but then we're also unique as well. At times we have specific histories, specific types of colonialism, and specific cultures. So yeah, we're all interconnected, interrelated. Um, but it's important to have a universal frame of mind as well as a particular frame of mind too. Because I guess when we universalize everything, we kind of lump everything all together, and that can be an issue. And we forget about the uniqueness and particulars. And also, when we strictly stick to our particular tribalism, that can be a problem too, as well, because we become very exclusive in our thinking and approaches, and we disregard all of humanity. We just think about our own tribes and our own nations, and that's it. So I think we have to have a balance between the whole globalist mindset, as I mean, the universalist mindset, not globalist. I don't like using that term globalism because sometimes it's corruption, like global corruption, internationalism. What I say is more like universalism and um, particular ism, I guess. Have a balance of that approach and perspective. Um, so let's see here. Yeah, so Diana mentioned something about some one of her, I guess, monarchas. They I guess some of her people flew to Canada and migrated, and um scissor yeah, they migrated to Canada. Yeah. So yeah, Mexicans migrated to Canada. I actually saw a Mexican guy. He was actually saying he was trying to make the case that Aslan is in Canada. I was like, wow, I never heard of that perspective. Usually people say Aslan is in the Four Corners, Southwest or northern Mexico and everything. But uh, and I'm not actually saying Aslan is in Canada or but he tries to make the case that it's in Canada. I haven't actually looked into it, so I'm not going to really make a comment about that. But there are Mexicans that definitely Chicanos that migrate to Canada, and we have especially the field workers. They go and work over there. So I've been to Canada. Actually, I've been to what is it called, Toronto, Canada. I was looking around and I didn't see too many Mexicans. I see a lot of was it a lot of people from India and you got some Africans in India, the Middle East. Um, but I only saw a few Mexicans there. I even saw a Mexican restaurant that was not run by Mexicans. That was weird. Like I saw I guess it was people from India or somewhere that they opened a Mexican restaurant. I was like, man, we need some Mexicans to move down to Canada and show them the real Mexican food. But definitely, that was more of the east coast of Canada, right? Now the west coast of Canada, there's Mexicans there, definitely, because we travel up from Mexico to California to Oregon, all the way up to Canada, and there's probably Mexicans in central Canada as well. So we move everywhere. I've seen Mexicans in New York as well. There's a whole community of Mexicans down there. Like I actually went to New York and I ate at a Mexican restaurant. I was like, oh wow, this is cool. I didn't know my people are here. But yeah, we're everywhere. And definitely. And we've been doing this even prior to colonization, traveling. You'll find evidence of natives traveling back and forth from central, northern Mexico, United States, Canada, east coast of the United States, traveling everywhere. So we have ancestry all over the Americas. um Oh, okay. So yeah, definitely. Diana mentioned something about Michoacan. Yeah. Oh, interesting fact about Michoacan. I found out that their language is connected with Quechua, the Inca language. I was like, wow. So there's even Mexican connection with South America as well. So wow, I was like, interesting. Um, Definitely interesting. The purépechas, right? That's what they call them. Yeah. Let's see here. Let me get to casual conversation. Let me see here. Casual conversation on YouTube says it's cool to know that Native Americans are cool with Mexicans. Yeah, well, some of them, uh, some Native Americans are cool with Chicanos and Mexicans. Some aren't. So everyone thinks that Native Americans out here are down with everyone out here who's Chicano Mexican. I came across some natives that don't like Mexicans and Chicanos, and it could be either ignorance or sometimes they're influenced by the colonizer, especially the Anglos. Sometimes they're half white and they have this anti-immigration perspective. um, and they at times don't even want us here in the United States because they see us, oh, we're gonna take over their land, and yeah, I came across some Native Americans like that. I actually came across an Apache brother who hated Mexicans, and I'm like, oh, he says he hated the Mexicas, right? And I was like, wow. I was trying to understand why do you hate the Mexicas? Why do you hate Mexicans? Well, he says because in the past it's like the Mexicans were killing the Apaches, right? But I told him this is yeah, it's a bad history of what happened because what happened is the Spaniards were in charge of the Mexican government military at that time, and they recruited natives from different parts of Mexico, right, to build their army. And they did go after the Apaches and tried exterminating them. They did kill some, right? And but I mentioned that the Spaniards were using native people to do this, and I don't think you should blame all Mexicans for what happened in the past, and or every native, person in Mexico for what happened in the past. But the Mexican government should be held accountable for what they did to the Apaches as well. And the reverse can be said as well because there's been times where the Apaches and other natives sided with the U.S. military, and they went and killed a lot of Mexicans, right? And so a lot of it is divide and conquer, colonialism, and I think we should actually look beyond that and say, you know what, you are my native brother and sister, and it's like we shouldn't be at odds with each other. We shouldn't be, you know, as even me of Native American descent as well. It's like the way I see is like, I see new coming Mexicans out here, first generation, newcomers. I don't see them as competition or them trying to take my land and this and take my ancestral land. And I just see it as, hey, those are my brothers and sisters. They're native as well. And me being Chicano as well, obviously, right? Chicanos have native ancestry here that's tied to the Americas. So I think there's ignorance on both sides. You got Mexicans who don't like Native Americans and Native Americans that don't like Mexicans. That happens at times. And there's ignorance on both sides. Even Mexicans have this colonizer mindset where they don't like Indios, right? They have this Spaniard mindset. They think they're Spaniards when in fact they're indigenous. So there's ignorance on both sides, but there are Native Americans who are that know that Mexicans and Chicanos are native, and there's some even living on the reservation that there's they natives from northern Mexico, the Chichimecas, end up living in the reservation with other natives, and they're the same people, and they end up reproducing with each other and all that. And there's even like for example, you have Yaquis of Sonora, right? And the Yaquis of Arizona. So they're the same people pretty much. Um, but yeah, it's just we got to stop this colonizer mindset and know that we're connected, we're related, and not be so tribalistic at times too, because sometimes natives can be like that. We're very tribal, right? It's like, oh, you're not part of my tribe, so you're not one of us, right? We got to get out of that mindset because the colonizer takes advantage of that situation and uses divide and conquer, and this is how he controls and manipulates us, and rules us. So we gotta unite as native people, unite in decolonization and restoring, revitalizing our native cultures and keeping it intact and preserving it, and promoting it, keeping it alive. Anyways, that's a good comment. Casual conversation. Um, Also, let's see here. Conscious of Christ on Instagram. Um, she says, I heard all types of crazy theories these days. There are some people that believe ancient Egypt is in America. Oh yeah, yeah. You're touching upon the pseudoscience. um, I get into that too. I'll be making a video soon on the whole. Actually, I did made a video. You go on my YouTube channel and click on the live section. I talk about pseudoscience and yeah, all that. If you study archaeology, anthropology, they actually debunk all that information. Um, it's important to know that the Egyptians have a different culture, different history than say Mesoamerican or Native history and culture. And a lot of times people try to make connections when they're not they're not connections. They're just they look for general characteristics and they assume that, oh, these people are the same, they're the same people, same civilization, when they're not directly related. So yeah, there's a problem with that whole pseudoscience there. uh, it's important to know that the Egyptian pyramids are different from, say, the Mesoamerican temples, and the temples are more leveled off, right? The Mesoamericans, they're more like leveled off, like they didn't have a, a top triangle, right? And the Egyptian pyramids had more like a triangle, so it's even the structure is different from the Egyptian pyramid is different from the Mesoamerican temples. Um, but you could say the temples, the pyramids are, in a sense, universal. You find it in other cultures as well. Um, but to say that the ancient Egypt was in the Americas, there's actually no evidence of that. The Mesoamericans actually built their own civilization independent of Egypt. So that's the evidence there that the natives created their own civilization. So we got to know about that. There's actually a book. I don't have it right now with me, but it exposes a lot of the pseudo science, um, especially pseudo archaeology out here. And you have different phony, uh, unsupported theories. I don't even call it theories, more like a false belief. And they cherry pick information and they just misinterpret it and take it out of context, and they try to claim that there's a connection there. So they even do it with ancient aliens and all that. They say Mesoamericans are native. It's kind of even racist too. There's actually a Mexican archaeologist that exposed this. He says it's racist to even say that Mesoamericans did not create their own civilization. That you want to say that other people created it instead. You say it's the ancient Romans, the ancient Greeks, the ancient Chinese, the ancient Phoenicians, the ancient Hebrews, the ancient Egyptians, the ancient aliens. He says all that is just pseudoscience and even racist, because you don't want to admit that natives created their own civilization. So it's definitely natives that created their own civilizations, Mesoamerica, and that's where the credit should be given to, right there. Um, but let's see here. But yeah, I mean, consciousness of Christ mentions something about separated by imaginary border. Yeah, so the European borders are definitely it is an imaginary border. Um, as the song from Oslo Underground is like, we didn't cross the borders crossed us. So we were traveling back and forth throughout the Americas, before Europeans came to this land and called us illegals, right? Before they set up their false patriotism and This whole thing about this land is their land and this and that. It was stolen land, right? So the original inhabitants were the native people of these lands, and we traveled back and forth. And I actually made a video previously about the connection between the Southwest and Mesoamerica, and as I even started diving more into the whole Chichimeca history and culture, there's definitely direct relations with the Chichimeca and the Southwest natives. They're the same people, basically, related, intertwined, interconnected, and there's so much evidence of that. Um, and even archaeology attests to that as well, confirms that. And yeah, definitely. Anyways, they call us illegal aliens when they came and swam. They call us wetbacks, right? When in fact they cross the ocean, right? Who's the original wetback? Anyways, we're actually native to this land, right? We're native to this land. Don't let them tell you otherwise. We're not foreigners. You know, we're not first generation, second generation, five. We're zero generation because we've always been on this land. Anyways, let's see here. Yeah, definitely. Diana mentioned something about her ancestors migrating and stuff. Yeah, definitely. Natives migrated back and forth everywhere. They traveled, they formed different nations, some nations, you know, they were the same people, then they separated and formed other nations, and then they combined with other nations, and boom. This is part of um, human evolution. Um, you know, that's what humans do. They travel and reproduce with each other, form other tribes and nations, and even get to a point where they're nomadic, or they become agricultural cultures as well, where many tribes combine and join many nations, and they form a big agricultural system as we find in Mesoamerica. And me as a Chichimeca is like a lot of us were. And some say that we were nomadic, but I don't completely agree with that. I think at times we also settled as well. We settled in certain places for a very long time, and yeah. So, and I don't always agree with perspectives that we were purely agricultural or purely hunter gatherer. Sometimes it's a mix between both. uh, even in agricultural native civilizations, we also did hunting and gathering as well. So it's very more complex than it's more complex than carpent. Uh, how can I say it? Compartmentalizing. Yeah, it's when we say, "Oh, this is the way it happened, and only that way." We say, "Oh, it's only this way and that way." I think it's more complex than that. Humans are more complex. Civilizations are more complex. Uh, but we know that we did travel and we did settle. We settled in different places. We traveled and we migrated. We have ancestral ties to this land, and definitely. So if you guys get a chance, you just came in, join the Mexica New Year in Los Angeles, starting Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Let me repeat the address again. If you, it's Sycamore Grove Park. The address is 4702 North Figueroa Street in Los Angeles, California. The Mexica New Year is Friday, March 24th, 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. Saturday, March 25th, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. Sunday, March 26th, 10 a.m. to 7 p.m. Saturday is going to be the main day, and there's going to be a lot of musicians, a lot of speakers, a lot of vendors, danzantes, Mexica danzantes, um, and the whole brown community of Los Angeles, native community joining together in celebration of the Mexica New Year. Um, Vendors and food, definitely come join the celebration. It's a new year, right? The Mexica Sunstone calendar. I actually, if you're on YouTube, I mean, I'm gonna eventually end this YouTube video and go back and listen to it because I do explain a little, some brief introduction to the Mexica Sunstone. It's actually very complex, right? And there's a lot of like, a lot of people say, oh, it's impossible to understand the Mexica Sunstone, or what they call the calendar, right? That's all, it's all become extinct, and and there's no way of knowing about it. That's not true. Actually, um, there's people who have knowledge and wisdom on this Mexica Sunstone, and one of the guys that I've actually mentioned was a guy named Ruben Ochoa, who was a mathematician. He discovered mathematical patterns in the Mexica Sunstone, and he explains all that. Actually, I explained a brief introduction to him and what he discovered, and it's based on the Codex Borgia. If you ever get a chance, get that Codex Borgia. I actually have it, and it teaches you, about the Mexica Sunstone. And basically, Mexica native time is not linear as in Western time, and there's also a misconception that it's cyclical. It's more like a spiral. So spiral is kind of like linear and cyclical in synthesis, where it's more like a spiral. So um, the cyclical time claims that the universe and time is eternal, and that's not true. Whereas the spiral time, there's a singularity, there's a creation to all of reality, and there's definitely the creator that created all of time and creation, everything, and everything that exists, right? And so it's important to know that the Mexicas believed in spiral time, not cyclical or not linear as well. And it's important to know about spiral time because it keeps us in harmony and balance with the rhythms of the earth, of the universe, all of creation in harmony and balance. It's important to know that. Whereas linear time, it keeps us in balance. It keeps us on this fast paced, materialistic, individualistic mindset in no regards for the environment, um, and no respect for, the natural elements of the earth, the animals, and all that. And we see the result of linear time, Western mindset right now is leading to a transhumanist, GMO, genetically modified, post-humanist reality, which causes a disruption to the organic, natural life, you know, of the creator. So, spiral time is more in tune with the earth, with the universe, with the natural rhythms, with creation, and it's keeping reality organic. I like to think of it as uh, Western time is GMO and indigenous time is organic. That's how I like to think of it. Anyways, I was just a little quick summary of what I said about it. Interesting to know. Um, and let's see here. So yeah, so Diana made some more comments. Let's see here. Nomadic is a statistical word for what's not understood. Yeah, I think it's just more nomadic is like, even that concept is, not completely accurate. To label natives as just completely nomadic is, I think that's a misconception of natives. Um, yeah, and Diana mentioned that the Mexica calendar, the Mayan calendar, yeah, very very similar, and the whole calendar system they say is started with the Olmecas, and so and it was all over Mesoamerican civilization, a lot of different calendars. Um, yeah, the Mayans definitely had their timekeepers as well. Um, very knowledgeable in astronomy. They even had their own observatories. Very very scientific, uh, definitely. Um, yeah, a lot of Mesoamerican culture. They're all related, all connected. The Toltecas and the Mayans and all that. Mexica. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, spiral is very important. There's even a Mayan guy. I don't agree with a lot of his new age perspectives, but he has a book, Humboldt's Men, and he does talk a lot about the spiral. So he got some good insight. He's Mayan as well. Um, he talks about a lot about the spiral philosophy and perspective, and he got some good insight. So I will give him that. I just don't agree a lot with with some of his new age stuff, you know. But he does have some good perspectives on the whole spiral philosophies, and you'll see that spiral in even some of the glyphs as well. Um, the spiral is all over like Mesoamerican culture, and so that's very important. Thanks for actually reminding me. Yeah, very interesting. Anyways, I guess I'm gonna end it here. Well, thanks for contributing to the discussion. Thanks for your comments and questions. Definitely. Um, this and also, if you're on YouTube or come and check out the description below. You can add me on Rumble. I have a Rumble account, the Conscious Chicano, and it's uncensored knowledge and information. So on these platforms such as TikTok and YouTube and Facebook, if you talk about certain topics, they start banning you and censoring you. So when I'm here on Instagram and YouTube, I talk about um, information that's not going to get me censored. So, but if you want to go to Rumble and listen to some deep information and knowledge, go check it out. I have the link on my YouTube video below. And also, if you need to get in contact with me, send me a message on Instagram. If you need some resources on the topic, information, books or videos or lectures, or you want to connect, and if you have a channel, a social media, you want to, interview me or have a discussion on certain topics, or if you want to be part of my discussions as well on YouTube or Instagram, send me a message. And also, I'm on Twitter as well, and click on my Twitter link, and the Conscious Chicano, and I have sometimes Twitter space chats there where we talk about a lot of deep subjects, exposing a lot of stuff. And it's uncensored conscious chats. And I actually had a real good one with somebody. We were just exchanging information. You should just hear the dialogue there. As a philosopher, like even with Socrates, like when he dialogued with people, he would discover like a lot of truth would be revealed, and sometimes it's good to get in philosophical discussions and dialogue, and sometimes you get some truths that are revealed and exchanged. So I definitely enjoy doing that when some of my uncensored conscious chats on Twitter, and also just read a lot of the tweets that I'm tweeting there. Sometimes I tweet my own stuff, or I retweet other information. Lots of really good knowledge, deep knowledge, and definitely. Anyways, well, I guess I'm going to end it here, and I'll end it here. And this is, just remember, don't be woke, be conscious. This is the Conscious Chicano, and I'm out. Have a good day.